Heyo everyone, Misha be Barkin here. So about a week ago, I made a post on Blue Sky and YouTube asking the following question. Does anyone have any funny / crazy early fandom stories? Like stuff from when you were first joining the fandom that made you go, what am I getting myself into? I don't really have any stories like that personally, but at my first con Spokanthro, I did go up to somebody's room, and there was somebody there that was decent, but minimally dressed wearing a pup hood, and I think I was like 5 minutes before something more NSFW happening, so... And this was my first con, mind you, so I'm glad I missed whatever was about to happen in that room, but I think I was just going up there to, like, grab something from a friend or something, or drop something off, so glad I missed whatever was about to happen. All of that being said, let's listen to some of the stories that you guys submitted. OMG, wait, people do that? Made me think of the time Christopher Judge from Stargate learned about furries at Dragon Con? Needless to say, I needed a picture with him at Comic-Con years later. Meeting Gates McFadden was also a pretty awesome story too. Ah, back in the days of disposable income. Dude, that's really cool that you got to meet those two people. That's another video topic I want to do, is like celebrities and furries, because the recent stuff with furries hasn't been great, but there has been some really good celebrity interactions. I felt down for not getting into the fandom earlier in my life, but then again, would I have gotten the same experience as I am now with meeting so many wonderful furs? That's the thing that's so weird, is like sometimes I think about if I would have gotten into furry earlier, because I knew about it in high school, but I didn't really interact with it until later in college. So it's like, how different would my experience have been? But the biggest thing I've learned over the years is you can't dwell on what ifs. You just have to live in the moment, you know? You found furry now, you're finding all the wonderful friends, and you should be happy living in that moment. Back when I was still interested in the fandom, but not necessarily an active participant in it, a lot of the pictures I'd send in picture messages were of anthro characters because the designs were cute. And this hipster girl I was friends with at the time noticed and was very judgmentally asking, "Are you a furry?" And I was like, no, because at the time I didn't consider myself one. But I was thinking how crazy it was that someone who made defying social norms her whole thing was being so flip about it. That's the weirdest thing, is like when people in niche communities will dog on other people in other niche communities just because they're not a part of that niche community. Like, bro, we're all in the same boat together. We're all being weird. We're just different flavors of weird. Anyway, I had a similar story like all the way back in middle school where I was obsessed with Pokemon and I was really learning how to draw because of Flipnote Hatena. And so I was showing one of my IRL friends the drawings and stuff, and they were like, "Hey, are you a furry?" They said it really like mean-like, you know, being a furry was a bad thing. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And they described it, and it was kind of like a moment of like, you can do that? That sounds awesome. Bro, I met at the first Anthrocon I went to in 2016, and holy people were not lying about that stank. Also, thank God my mom was with me because I was 16 and he kept following me around the rest of that day. I don't think I've heard a single good thing about this person. And what's crazy is just having his name in the video. I'm not gonna say his name out loud, I'm gonna censor it, but just having his name in the video, there's a non-zero chance he'll show up in the comments. But yeah, if you ever see this person, avoid them. They are not a good person. Plenty of YouTubers have made plenty of videos about why. The first ever furry mutual I met IRL was Herozek? In between mall encounters, eventually ending up meeting at his home. Later, I found out I was the first ever internet person his parents ever met, and possibly changed their whole opinion regarding internet friends. Hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you were able to change their opinion, hopefully for the better. You didn't specify that it was for the better, but here's hoping. Argo just asked if I want coffee? Yo, of course I want coffee. When I was 16, I was already into building suits, but mostly for myself. I joined a big German internet forum and started posting stuff, mostly my fursuit building attempts. After a while, I met a dude roughly the same age like me, don't remember if he was 15 or 17. We chatted a few times and met up at a public space because I wasn't stupid. It went well, he was nice but a bit shy. A few months into our friendship, he started to try to isolate me from other friends and tried guilt-tripping me for not spending every free minute with him meeting up or talking/texting. I blocked him once he started leaving nasty comments on my account's pin wall. I was lucky he didn't try to continue harassing me after that. He probably was afraid of my brother or boyfriend at the time, I figure. But man, this was a scary time. I'm still cautious over 10 years after this time of furries trying to get to know me. There are two big things I want to point out with this story, and one is the meeting in public was a really good move. For any of my younger listeners listening to this, if you are going to meet somebody online, do it in a public space. Do it somewhere that there's going to be more people, or if you are going to do it back at your place or something, don't ever ever be alone. And the second thing is when Kurt starts talking about how they were trying to isolate them from their other friends and stuff, that is the biggest red flag imaginable. As soon as someone in your life tries to isolate you from other friends or anything, cut that person off. They are not a good influence in your life. This has been Internet Safety with Misha B. Barkin. The first art page I followed on iFunny, oh god, iFunny, was a softcore vor page, and I 100% thought that's just what all furry art was like for 2 months. I mean, is it that far from... isn't it? I'd technically been into the fandom for a few years by this point, but I didn't really engage with it beyond drawing. So when I was invited to a small fur meet at someone's house, we were playing Smash Bros or something, I don't know. I was a bit nervous and I went anyway. I wore the tail and ears I had commissioned from someone a couple months before and was having fun for a while. Got plenty of compliments on them and the overall vibe was good. But there was this one guy there, he was just off. Not in a he's going to murder me if I go off by myself kind of way, more like a I think this guy wants to get in my pants kind of way. Uh-oh. He spent pretty much the entire night looking over at me, and when I would notice and look back, he'd give me this weird smile and look back at the TV. The worst part of it all though was that his girlfriend was sitting in his lap the entire night. I think they broke up not long after. I really hope it wasn't because of me. And he did try and hang out and flirt with me a few times, but nothing really came of it except some very awkward kissing, which I still cringe thinking about to this day. Honestly, the fact that he was flirting with you with his girlfriend right there means either one, they were open, which is a whole nother thing. I don't really care about that. But if that was a closed relationship and he was doing it, that relationship was doomed from the start. He was already looking elsewhere than his girlfriend. If them breaking up was not your fault in any way whatsoever. But that's just crazy to think about if they were closed. Like, why are you flirting with somebody else with your girlfriend right there in your lap? Bro, you've won. Like, you've got a girl in your lap. Isn't that what you're hoping for? I guess one of the more standout ones would be where I went into a hotel room for a dance mutual and there was like a bunch of people in the room. I forgot what we were watching, but there was something on the TV and 2 people in fursuit were just casually f***ing on the bed, lol. Sounds like Mex got to the party later than I did. Nah, but be sure to double check room parties and like, you know, what's gonna go on in them, because there are room parties where everybody's just chill and vibing and everybody's drinking and having a great time. I went to a room party once where we were all just vibing and playing Mario Party. But yeah, there's different flavors and different tiers of room parties, so be sure to double check what you're getting yourself into if you get invited to one. I've got 2, one in VRC, the other IRL. In VRC, I got convinced to run a radio ad with a jukebox system I ran at the time for a furry event. I ran the ad thinking nothing of it and kept getting asked if I would go to the event. I kept saying no, I'm not a furry. I get on VR the day of just to hang out and drink a little elsewhere, but I just kept getting spammed to join on Discord or VR too. Finally, after 15 minutes of this, I joined the world just to yell at the friend, just to find a whole goddamn music festival that was actually pretty cool. I ended up staying the whole time and still continue to make these events now. That's really cool. There's a whole different furry scene on VR chat. Like, you have IRL furries and then you have VR chat furries, and it's like 2 sides of the same coin, where there's cons in VR, there's virality, there's everything, there's music festivals, there's room parties. IRL one. I got convinced to go to AC24. Hey, I was at AC24, and I'm actually going to be at AC25, so if you're going to go, be sure to try and find me and say hi. This was my very first con in general, vacation by myself, seeing furry at all IRL. Thursday, I got in line at 7 a.m., sat down, and just watched all of it thinking, what the f*** did I get dragged into? I tried to talk to people in line, but I had nothing in common with anyone there, so I opened my work laptop trying to hide from the confusion, thinking I could just go falling back on plan B, but by that time, I just see the line behind me and went nope and started messaging friends, talking there, and some arrived about 2 hours later, and it all just felt like VRC for some reason. After that, and a smile didn't leave my face until that Sunday night after closing ceremony. Honestly, AC was almost the exact same way for me, where it was like, I was super nervous to go, because it was a huge con, and just like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, oh god, this is so far away from home, and then the entire time I was just having a blast and a half. Like, I don't think I stopped smiling until Sunday either. One time we almost drove through a drive-thru window in Fursuit and Kigu back in Halloween 2018. We decided against it because we felt bad for the people who had to work that day. One of the earliest things I did that I regret to this day is me and my friends ordered pizza and they were like, oh, Misha, you should answer the door in your fursuit. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I had just gotten Misha at this point. And it was like, yeah, this is such a good idea. They'll love it. That guy was so weirded out by that. And like, I should not have done that. If somehow by the grace of God that pizza worker is watching this video, I am so sorry. He was just like, he was trying to play it off and be nice, and he was like, haha, wow, haha, whoa, awesome, dude, yeah. I was invited to my first con in 06, having no idea what a furry was. The friend who invited me was incredibly hairy, and I assumed it was a con for hair sweet individuals? What? Weird, but whatever. Seeing a bunch of fursuit and cartoon animal pictures confused the hell out of me. Much better outcome. The fact that you thought it was like a con for hairy people It's really funny. I mean, hairy people, fur, what's the difference, right? When I first discovered the fandom, I was deeply closeted, exclusively used he, him, and didn't know I had ADHD, and then a lot of my favorite content creators were neurodivergent trans femmes, most of them pre-transition when I first followed them. Subconscious, real, recognize real type shit. Is there like a trans version of the gaydar, where you just like sonared to the other trans femme? We're all on the same wavelength, so you really enjoyed their content, and then, well, lo and behold, eventually your egg cracked too, and you're all in this together.
Hello. Recording with coffee.
Oh my god. Thank you. When I first went to a fur meet, I had gone there with a very bad handcrafted fursuit. It was a fursuit made out of a plant pot with eyes and mouth cut and covered in fur with ears and muzzle made out of a sponge that were also covered in fur. Sure, it was hideous at sight, but I was 16 and didn't have the means to order foam online or even be able to afford it, and I really wanted to be part of it. People would come up to me and boop the nose and say how they were scared to break it, but it seemed kind to me. Little did I know that behind my back, people were talking bad of my fursuit, belittling, mocking me, and my foster carers were the ones who broke the news to me. I was banned from going to fur meets because of a 25-year-old man I'd befriended who was heavily flirty with me over message. Okay, that last part is what the f, but I want to talk about the fursuit as well. The fact that you made a fursuit out of a plant pot is adorable. Like, you were really crafty with that. I've never heard of that before. So the fact that you wanted to suit so bad you were willing to arts and crafts your way into it is really admirable. I hate that the other people were mean to you for it. Like, who cares how the suit looks? What matters is that you enjoy wearing it and it makes you happy. Honestly, the fandom snuck up on me so stealthily I didn't even know I was part of it for years. The closest thing to a WTF am I getting into happened when someone asked me to roleplay Vor with them, and I had no idea what that was. Suffice to say, I was not into it, lol. I had the same thing happen to me. Somebody on Flipped Out Heteta, like, we became such good friends, and then as we grew over time, we both kind of discovered furry at the same time, and he discovered Vor, and I didn't know what that was. I wasn't really aware of that, and he got very into it, and that's not one of the things I really like, so we kind of drifted apart after that, because that was kind of all he wanted to talk about, and so, yeah. I joined the fandom in 1995. I legit didn't know fursuits were a thing. I figured it would be more like an arts and comic expo, so I had a lot of what the, but now look at me. Hey, joining back in 95, that's awesome. Also, the suit looks really cool too. We talked with Buddy the dog over on my podcast Bark Bark Meow, and he was talking about how less common fursuits were all the way back in 2005, so I can only imagine how little there were in 1995 as well. And thinking it would be more like an art and comic expo is a pretty reasonable explanation, considering furry was kind of born out of a sci-fi convention. Anyway, that's all the posts I have for today. If you guys have any crazy stories that you want to share from when you first joined the fandom, let me know down in the comments below. Also, let me know of any other questions or prompts that you think would make really good videos, and maybe I'll post them as community posts later. All of that said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!